Tom, you referenced the brains and the beauty of our partnership at Deutsche Bank. But what was also
Are you
interesting
arguing that?
was
Are you going to argue with
I'm not
me?
arguing it. Okay. But what was also really interesting, and people have to remember that our partnership, I think it was back in about 2005, something like that. So go back to 2005. We were a bit of an odd couple. We have our respective spouses, but like an odd couple on Wall Street because we'd be running through airports. You describe it better than me. You describe it, Tom.
Well, you know what? I used to tell people we're like Sonny and Cher, yeah, and so and uh, and so of course, you are much taller than I am, and you run a lot faster, and you're much more fit. And most of the time, I was chasing after you, trying to keep up with you as we're catching planes. But that was a good experience.
Yeah, as we were catching planes, and you were always like, "Why is this man running after this woman in an airport?"
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm glad I wasn't arrested. Somebody should have arrested me because it just looked fine.
okay, but no, I want to so, but all to say, you as we talk about investing in Vietnam, one of the things that endeared me to you is that your story is incredible. You're from Vietnam. I always tell people this story, and you're on one of the last helicopters out of Vietnam, plopped into Minneapolis.
Yes, yes. It's been a crazy journey, to say the least. And you are right. I of course was born in Vietnam, left on April 30th, 1975. And for those who are old enough, I don't think you are, to remember that date. That was the actual date of the fall of Saigon. And I
Hmm.
was one of the fortunate ones that got out on one of the last helicopters with my mom and, frankly, 13 other kids. And really grew up in the U.S. As an immigrant, got into Wall Street by accident, and I got a chance to meet amazing people like you, and got lucky enough to be moved around the world. So, when I look back at
Hmm.
my career, there's a part of me that's just wonder what happened, and now I get the opportunity to go back to Vietnam, to be
Yeah.
part of one of the most storied securities firms in Vietnam. So this has to be a great chapter in my book sometime.
Absolutely. So talk to us
Yeah.
then now about, obviously it's personal, but there's obviously an opportunity as well to you're in the States right now, but you're going to move back to Vietnam. Why is it so interesting? Give us kind of the big picture.
Vietnam has to be one of the most exciting stories, investment stories in the developing world right now. Why is that? I'll just give you the simple metrics that a lot of people know about, but it has to be reminded. There is 100 million people in Vietnam, packed into a size of land of New Mexico. And to put it into perspective, as you know, and you're sitting in Canada, there's 40 million people in Canada. There's 100 million people in Vietnam. And what's
Hmm.
interesting about that population, Catherine, is that 30, 55% of that population is 35 and under. They're really young,
Wow.
Catherine. They were like us when we were running through airports. And um, Also extremely educated. The literacy rate is around 99%. You could argue
Hmm.
that the literacy rate is higher than that of the US. Um, um, and then, of course, it's strategically sits right beneath China, sits in Southeast Asia, an area of the world where we're seeing a lot of attention, particularly the supply chain. So when you look at just the basic fundamentals of Vietnam, it's really hard for you not to get excited. And obviously, there are trends such as urbanization, the rising middle class, and all that drives the macro of an investment theme. And frankly, Vietnam has all that.
Hmm. But I wonder though, Tom, from an outside, and we're going to get into some of the details here, of course, but
Yeah.
from an outside perspective, what is it about Vietnam in particular, in addition to what you've said, that is going to be so interesting in the sense that is it certain industries that they have specialty in, or am I just buying a growth story?
No, it's a great question, Catherine. The fundamentals of Vietnam has existed for many years, for 20, 30, 40 years. The 100 million people didn't just appear yesterday. What is happening though? The China-U.S. relations and
Mm-hmm.
all that's happened has, frankly, I would call it put gasoline on the fire, in the sense that it has accelerated the unlocking of value in places like Vietnam. So
Okay.
Vietnam has
Tom,
all
we're
the
gonna take
great
it. We're
fundamentals.
gonna take. Yep. We'll take a quick break. We'll pick it up on the other side.